Hey, this is John Carlos, and I'm here with a look at Carol from the Walking Dead Series 5 Pops by Funko. Wah, wah, wah. Well, there's the first problem right there. When I have problems with getting figures to stand, I usually just cut out like a little piece of cardboard, usually from some toy packaging, because the cardboard packaging on most action figures is pretty slim. And I just take that and I wedge it underneath the problem area, usually the back of the heel, and that's how I get my figures to stand on display. When I pulled this figure out of the packaging, I was expecting to see one of the little circular discs that help the smaller petite figures stand. That's usually what they do with like girl figures. They sculpt them really small, but this figure isn't quite as small as say like, you know, Princess Leia or Jessica Rabbit. They have the really slim tiny girl bodies, but it's also not quite the full Funko size with like the full torso and the full feet. It's sort of in between, but I do wish it had the disc. That way, you know, it could stand. But there's a lot of good things about this pop. A lot. My favorite thing about it is just like the basic sculpt of her body. I know it doesn't look like the most exciting outfit, but they did such a good job with it. I mean, if you just look at like the paint on her knife handle and just like the little sliver that it fits into, like the sheath, if you look at like the paint on her belt, I mean, it's a really well painted belt and belt buckle. Her shirt, her blue shirt over it, her brown jacket, her other brown pants, the paint separation between all of them is really clean. Now when you get to the back, it becomes a little wonky. There's some blue paint on her brown jacket, there's some brown paint on her blue shirt, there's some brown paint on her hands, and there's some tan paint on her gun, but you're not going to see any of that from the front. In fact, her front is so well painted that the little issues with the paint on the back don't even bother me. I like the sculpt on her boots here, including the little buckles that go down the side along all those little straps. The way that wrinkles at the knee there. I like the brown paint they use. Again, I love the knife. And also behind her pink shirt, there's another tan shirt. So there's a lot of good paint going on here with some good sculpting, even just at the elbow wrinkles. These little tiny sculpting details, I'm really impressed by. Even that little smear on her neck there doesn't bother me. I really like what they're doing with her head. First of all, this one's got really clean eyes, and I like the little eyelashes they included. There's some really clean eyebrow work. I love the little lines under her eyes. And they sculpted her hair really rad. It totally has Carol's shape, you know, the little wisps in different directions that it goes in, and the little sculpted lines, the little groove lines in there. And there's like a little kind of two-tone wash going on with her hair, 2 levels of gray, so I like that color separation. It looks really good. Again, these little kind of black smear lines don't bother me that much because the work everywhere else is so good. I prefer when like the work that's meant to be done well is done well with a few random dots versus like clean workspace but the actual things that are supposed to be painted well are kind of messed up. So yeah, I think this turned out great. Even the way it kind of goes over her ears there looks awesome. And even her coat, it's not a solid like orange-brown, and there's a wash over it, like a purpley darker orange wash. It really gives it like kind of a clothy, leathery texture. So I think this is just a grand slam. And I think it's kind of funny that I consider this a grand slam because the figure's pose is so basic. It's just her standing there. But you know what? It's a good sculpt that's really well painted, and it really does look like Carol, and I think that's awesome. Thanks for watching.